And for that, with the next episode, we will be heading into raids. The Temple of Febe is one of the hardest encounters in Guild Wars 2. In fact, it was so hard on release that it eventually was nerfed. But for those who were able to clear the original difficulty, a title was made. Legendary Conqueror of Ceres. And I'm gonna get it. So let's go. Join me as I continue my journey to become a legend. Alright, so with our character at level 80 and everything unlocked, it's time to get gear. The only problem is, to get gear, I've chosen to raid. And if you want to do raids, you need gear. Alright, so jokes aside, I'm going to break this down into a few stages so we can keep track of what we've accomplished as the video progresses. Starting gear, runes, and sigils, a relic, ascended gear, and infusions. So let's start with... There are 6 tiers of gear in Guild Wars 2. Fine, Masterwork, Rare, Exotic, Ascended, and Legendary. Each tier is strictly better than the previous, except for Legendary, more on that later. At level 80, anything less than Exotic is pure garbage and should be replaced as quickly as possible. Thankfully, you can buy a full set of Exotic gear on the trading post, you just need a bit of gold. Now, you're probably thinking, well that's just f***ing great, Amma, you piece of shit, but this is a goddamn brand new f***ing account. Where the f*** am I gonna get motherfucking gold, you f***ing idiot? I can't believe you just f***ing assume we're all f***ing rich, you piece of shit. And if you're thinking that, you should probably talk to someone. But the answer to that question, and several of your other expletive-addled questions, is the Wizard's Vault. The Wizard's Vault was released at the same time as the Temple of... No, we're not doing that for any more videos, thanks. This feature acts as Guild Wars 2's daily system. Completing simple tasks on a checklist generates astral acclaim, a currency that can be exchanged for various shinies, notably cold hard cash money. The inventory resets every major content update, or approximately once every 3 months. Cleaning out all of the easily convertible items results in a modest 300 gold. If you haven't gotten the hint here, as a new player, you should 100% be doing this. You're welcome. We can use the gold we get from the vault to purchase our first set of armor, which will use the Berserker stat combination. Long term, we'll be using a build that utilizes condition-based damage, a term used in Guild Wars 2 to describe damage over time builds, but it's easier to get power-based armor on the trading post. Now, before we go any further, I just want to offer some advice. Don't search Berserker in the search field on the trading post and buy the cheapest piece you can find. Search the actual stats, power, precision, and ferocity, because there are cheaper pieces that just don't have the word Berserker in their name. Again, you're welcome. We can do the same thing to get an exotic weapon, as well as runes and sigils. Now, I won't lie, the sigils can get expensive, and you're gonna just have to live with it. You just got 90 gold, right? You'll be alright. If you're running a power build, you'll want Dragon Hunter or Scholar runes. If you're running a power build and want to be a cheap bastard like me, buy Eagle runes for much, much less. You are so welcome. Okay, so we've got exotic armor, weapons, we've got runes, and sigils. What about accessories? That's a great question, and I really want to encourage you. Hey, look over there! The last thing we're going to need is a relic. This was also released in Secrets of the Obscure, and usually has a unique effect that can significantly amplify your damage. Check out the Snowcrow's website, link will be in the description, to figure out what relic is best for you. For the build I was planning to bring into Temple of Febe, I needed a relic of the Fractal, which required me to hang around in Skywatch Archipelago collecting volatile 250 pinches of Stardust. And with that we have our relic. Now, you remember how I said there were 6 tiers of armor? You know, like 45 seconds ago? There are 6 tiers of gear in Guild Wars 2. Well, it shouldn't come as a surprise that we're not done once we have exotic armor. No, what we want is a... This armor possesses the highest stat budget of any armor in the game. While Legendary is technically the highest tier, it doesn't offer better stats, it simply allows the wearer to freely swap between any stat combination in the game, provided they're not in combat. So if you have a full set of Ascended gear, congratulations! For all intents and purposes, you have reached the end of the gear treadmill. One of the more reliable sources of Ascended gear is raids. Not only does every individual encounter have a small chance to reward a piece of Ascended gear, it can also be purchased using the currency that is dropped by every single encounter. To be clear, there are many ways to earn Ascended gear. Various achievements, crafting, fractals, PvP, World vs. World, pretty much all the content in the game offers Ascended gear, except dungeons. Sorry dungeons, you're great content, but we don't need you for what we're doing. Maybe next time. But since we're on a timeline, we want to get this gear fast. And since you only get one roll per raid boss every week, we need a more passive way to get Ascended gear. Queue in Bitterfrost Frontier. This map is part of Living World Season 3, which means it's technically a follow-up story from Heart of Thorns. What makes this map in particular so special is the map-specific items, winterberries, that can also be exchanged for Ascended gear. And you can gather them from the nodes every day, not once per account, but per character. So if you really just want to get Ascended armor as fast as possible, this is almost without equal. The only hitch is that Living World chapters have to be purchased with gems, unless you were active when it launched. Thankfully for us though, courtesy of the Wizard's Vault, we have enough gold to exchange for the gems we need to buy this content. No real money required. Small tangent, but if you want a head start, you can also complete the Seasons of Dragon segment relating to Bitterfrost Frontier, which will net you 250 berries for free. So, in the end, I used a combination of Wizard's Vault rewards, raids, and winterberries to get most of my Ascended gear. Most. No, I didn't forget accessories, they're just a bit trickier to come across as exotics, so I went straight for the Ascended ones to save some time. But unfortunately, you can't get an amulet from winterberries, and I ran out of magnetite shards after buying rings and accessories, so I did what any self-respecting player would do, and bought the necklace on the trading post. That's right, the Vial of Salt is an Ascended amulet that can be virtually bought from the trading post. Not only that, it's quite cheap. You can get most of the ingredients for around 30 gold, which again, isn't that hard when you're sitting on a clean 90. So that's exactly what I did. Something I thought of after I wrote the script for this video is that there's a much more obvious solution for a necklace that I've actually already hinted at, the Prismatic Champion's Regalia. This is a very long-term investment, but if you're watching this video series and have a fairly established account already, it's possible you're actually well on your way to this. You can check in the Achievements tab under Side Stories, Current Events. And once I had that and equipped all my trinkets, my armor, my pistol... I said my pistol? What the f*** is this? Alright, so apparently what I failed to realize is that when I completed Weapon Master training last episode, all that does is unlock the weapons for every elite spec. It does not, however, unlock the new unique weapon for every class, which in this case was pistol. So I quickly did all the story missions until chapter 14, at which point you have to go all over Inner Knives to collect some scroll or something, I don't even know. I was too much in a blind rage to pay any attention. Once we had all of that figured out, now we just had to keep grinding raids until we had the gold and magnetite to purchase 18 infusions. And once we had those, we were ready... Wait, why do I have 4 left over? What the... Oh, mother... Alright, what are these infusions, and why do I keep talking about them? Well, like I said, the DPS requirements for LCM are steep, so you need to squeeze every ounce of damage out of your character. Infusions are the epitome of this philosophy. They are a fairly extensive commitment, but only provide a nominal DPS increase. We're talking 30 to 50 DPS per infusion, or roughly 500 to 1000 DPS if you're completely tricked out. But because we're doing some of the hardest content in the game, we need to pull all the stops. Now, to be clear, for anyone who hasn't broken into endgame content, exotic armor is sufficient for about 98% of the game. But in addition to having 5% more stats than exotic, Ascended equipment is also the only equipment that comes with an infusion slot. And while this is primarily for agony resistance for fractals, you can also slot infusions that give stat buffs, and that's exactly what we're going to do. The problem is, rings need to be attuned and infused to get all 3 of their potential infusion slots, and that's a pain in the ass if you're doing this from scratch. So, for the first time in this video series, I was prepared to say screw it, until I remembered something. Coalescence. Or to be more specific, its precursor, the Hateful Swirl. There aren't too many, but Hateful Swirl is one of the few Ascended rings in the game that comes pre-loaded with all 3 of its infusion slots. All we have to do is loot 3 chests from Hall of Chains, do some fairly precise but relatively easy jumps, Aw, come on! God damn it. Son of a... Oh. First try. Before finally heading to Desolation, where all we had to do was... Oh, you mother... Some of the areas you need to access for the collection are on elevated platforms, which means we need, at the very least, a Springer with the enhanced jump and... well, as it turns out, very little else. Prior to the introduction of the Sky Scale, you'd have needed a Skimmer with the Ride the Wind mastery to access the Silent Vale and Desolation, and then a Jackal with the Shifting Sands mastery to navigate the portal. But thanks to Janthier Wilds, we can Warclaw our way into the Vale, and with the help of a Mesmer, you can just port right into the required area. No Sky Scale or Jackal needed. And once that was done, we had Hateful Swirl. We just had to dump some gold into food and utilities for benching and progging the fight. And we're done. So let's talk about what's coming in the next few videos. There are two things I have to accomplish before I can even think of begging some people to carry my dumb ass through ToF LCM. The first is, probably somewhat unsurprisingly, clear regular challenge mode. And for that, I'd like to introduce you all to the sponsor of today's video, Void Lounge.
Hey, you. Yes, you. Do you want to try endgame content?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you suck?
I don't know, I think I'm
Yeah, you suck.
I mean, I've cleared most raids
You
yet.
suck. And if you want to clear LCM, you're gonna need Void Lounge.
Void Lounge is a Discord server that focuses exclusively on the serious endgame encounters. Harvest Temple, Temple of Febe, and Mount Balrior. If you want to clear any of these on Challenge Mode or Legendary Challenge Mode, this is where you've got to go. As you get further through the content, you'll be assigned roles that you can use to lord yourself over other scrubs who suck like you used to. Or you could use it to make groups with other players who have similar experience as you and not be a toxic piece of shit. I myself was able to get a Greer CM kill for only one stack of Mystic Coins, and let me tell you, What? VL doesn't charge you for runs? Well then what was that guy Itzy's deal? Oh, that was supposed to be a joke? Oh, it's a good thing I haven't paid him yet. Thanks Void Lounge for sponsoring today's video. Not a real sponsorship. Void Lounge does not endorse, sponsor, associate, or even formally recognize Amaverra, but they did give Amaverra permission to use this segment because they felt a little bit of pity on it and admitted it was maybe kind of funny. As I said in the last video, my guild doesn't know who I am, which means I can't just put together a group of myself and 9 people who have already cleared the LCM title and just steamroll the content. In addition to the gear I just put together, I have to build a social rapport. So, I'll be joining Void Lounge and posting my own groups, hoping that someone is kind enough to not only join, but also make calls since I don't actually have a ton of experience with this raid myself. And as we progress further and further through the fight, we can get Discord ranks that allow us to join groups with higher experience requirements, which incrementally should get us closer to a kill. But to start off, I really do suck. And so, in addition to posting runs on an alternate Discord account, I'll also be hitting up the raid training arena, which is where I'll be playing Whack-A-Golem until I hit the 95% benchmark. Now, if you hear the words 95% benchmark and think, holy shit, Amaverra, what the fuck are you talking about? What, you fucking moron, I can't fucking believe you think we all just know what the fuck it means. Then seriously, talk to someone, you have anger issues. But for those of you who thought to yourself, yes, that's rather interesting, Amaverra, but I do believe I found myself slightly unaware of the meaning of such nomenclature. Would you be a gentleman and elaborate what that means? Well, as I briefly discussed in the last video, classes are cataloged based on the highest damage potential they are capable of. These are tested in the raid training arena against a stationary golem, with specific settings enabled that allow players to extract as much damage as possible. The best way to measure your own performance is to replicate those settings and compare yourself against the benchmark posted to Snowcrows. For example, if the benchmark is 40,000 and yours is 30,000, you are performing at 75% of the benchmark. So the next video will be a full clear of Ceres on CM. I will thoroughly explain every mechanic, so the video will double up as a sort of play-along guide from the perspective of a damage dealer. The video after that will be the process of benching, which I know sounds boring as hell, but I promise you, I've got some tricks up my sleeve to make it entertaining. I'll also be streaming my benches on twitch.tv/Amaverra when this video goes live. So if that's something that sounds interesting, I promise you you're wrong, but feel free to tune in. See you in the next video.